Who would have thought Constitutional Court will say I must pay personal costs? The
As
very
a, pu-
same
as,
constitutional.
as a public protector,
Thank you. Doing my work.
why do you think you were suspended?
For PHALA, 31 questions.
The 31 questions you sent.
Exactly. You'd find that a speaker is a senior member, ye party, ne? Within the ANC.
True.
But the premier is the chairperson of the province. So now the problem is, in political wise, you account to me.
Yes, but
when it comes to administration and government,
it's the other way around. What is your, on a rate of 1 to 10, what is your state of happiness? And I say this in light of everything that's been
that
going
is
on.
surrounding me.
Yes.
I would say, there are good days
Okay.
where it's 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I must indicate there are bad days where I am 1, 2 over 10.
King David Studio podcast.
It's not easy to work with family.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking, how is it? Yeah.
We try. We're adopting a culture. Yeah. Indians and Jews are very good at it. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And
But
whites as well.
And whites as well. Afrikaners.
Afrikaners.
Yes. Afrikaners
I've
are
seen
good
that.
at it. But not
Yeah.
Rona.
We need to do it more.
Yes. And we should look at more Kaiser Chiefs. It's a legacy within the family.
Yes, it's
true.
true.
Some days are good,
Somebody
some days
was
are bad.
angry. Gore Kaiser Chiefs lose it. No. If let's call a little bit, Lona young Kaiser Chiefs ya Lona. Rona re ke establish Rona because le family thing.
Little Shia, Kaiser Chiefs,
Yeah. That's it, because they are so man.
Yeah, that's so true. They won this past weekend.
And people were criticizing. Well, my husband is also laughing at me.
You're a Chiefs fan.
Yes, and actually.
Your husband is a soccer guy, through and through.
Through and through. So, yena total sport, thank you.
Yes.
So, Naki Chiefs and well, my father.
Kaiser Chiefs.
Bafana Boktula no.
Yeah,
So I grew up, with my daughters with their fathers.
Oh, they
So
go with
now,
the
I took
daddy.
that line.
Yes.
But others, my other sisters, Kiddy Pirates.
Jeez.
Well, my 2 brothers, Pirates.
Just so you know, I'm recording because I find
No,
this
it's good, it's
interesting.
good, it's
I find
okay,
this
it's fine.
interesting.
Yes.
And your love for soccer, what inspired it though? Your interest in it at all?
That's why I'm saying my father.
Your father. Yeah.
My father loved the soccer, Shem, and he knew all the teams, and he will compare them. But in J Chiefs, hence Namige, I followed, and then I said, "This is the team.
Yeah.
If my father loves this team, I
It
also
must be
love
good.
it."
You ended up even marrying someone who's in the soccer space.
Yes.
Was he in the soccer space at the time? When you met?
We just recently married.
Okay.
We knew each other long ago. Actually, we met through soccer as
Wow.
well by
Yes.
then. And then we took our different ways.
Yeah.
I went, took another
Route.
career route, went to work to China and,
What?
and yeah.
Met
So
again.
Then we met again.
Interesting.
And but I was married before.
Yes.
So, and my late husband was also a Chiefs fan.
Huskies.
Yeah, and my daughter is a Chiefs fan. My son, yes, he's also
A Chiefs
you
fan.
know, yeah.
I find it surprising when young kids support Chiefs, and I'll tell you why. And I know Chiefs fans won't like this. They haven't won in so long a trophy in
Yeah.
so long that I'm surprised that, because young people, they like winners.
Yeah.
They like Ronaldo.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Eish.
And they haven't seen Chiefs carry a trophy
Eish.
in some of them in their lifetime.
Chiefs Mara, what's the king is letting us down.
But we have to acknowledge the legacy of the family, how important that is.
It does, ne? But again, it also shows you that besides then the older generation,
Yeah.
besides the issue of Chiefs, I mean, if you go to the issue of the ANC, for instance, some people, irrespective of what is happening, they'll just go back there. Chiefs,
It's the
same
same.
thing. Somebody once said, if you are always following chiefs and you don't do anything, it's like staying in an abusive relationship. You're always
I don't want to
beaten,
say that.
but then you don't want to go out of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it as a Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
Like me.
Well, I'm a Chiefs fan, and I can say that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they are disappointing, Bonai.
As keys. It's interesting. I'm hanging out with Aus Joyce, as some people would call her.
That name.
Aus Joyce.
People who are calling me using that name. When you say Joyce, I like.
Who are you?
This one knows me from high school.
Listen to that.
Yes,
Yeah. We hang out with Aus Joyce and we start by talking about soccer of all things.
Imagine.
I hope you're well, man.
I'm good. Thank you so much.
What is on a rate of 1 to 10? What is your state of happiness? And I say this in light of everything that's been
That
going
is
on.
surrounding me.
Yes.
I would say, there are good days
Okay.
where it's 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I must indicate there are bad days
Mm.
where I am 1, 2 over 10.
Oh no.
Yeah.
When it's the reverse.
human.
You're only human.
I am only human. But try to lift myself up and go on.
What do you use to lift yourself up? Where do you draw the strength on bad days?
I worship a lot. I'm a child of God. I'm a believer.
Yeah.
I think I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in when was it? 1990. What year was it?
Let me help your mind. Was it before or after university?
It was after university.
Then it was in the
90s.
mid-90s.
Yeah, 90s.
Yes, in the early to
90s,
mid-90s.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
90s, around 1990, after voting, I think around 1997.
Yeah.
Around the years. And I grew in the word and understanding. I think it just lifts me up. I mean, I've gone through a lot,
Yeah.
Mashabela,
Yo.
in life. Hence, I'm busy writing a book now.
You should finish
Which
it
will-
quickly.
Yeah.
It'll sell right now.
Yeah, so it has been through a very turbulent life. I mean, some of the rejection and things I'm facing, some of them I faced them in the past. And
Really?
I managed to overcome.
In other careers.
In other careers,
Yes.
life generally. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Do you think going through all these things have built a thick skin, made you stronger?
Definitely. It does.
Yeah.
It does, because sometimes in life you go through all this and you reach a point where you just sift whatever you need to just concentrate on or focus on.
Yeah.
Others you just let go. And sometimes
And it gets easier and easier, I guess.
it does. It does.
Incredible.
It does. And the other thing is also forgiving. Those who wronged you. Forgiveness also helps you to just move on in life. Because if you are always holding a grudge or hating, well, hate is not in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
I remember one complainant who lost his son at University of Cape Town.
Okay.
And it's still a very painful, incident for him, which we issued a report, because I remember when he said to me, I listened to you in one of your interviews and you were saying how they are treating you, and you were saying, hate is not I don't know. I don't want to say hate.
It's too strong an
For me,
emotion.
it's too strong.
Yes.
I normally say no. Maybe it's hurting. It's wrong, but I hate this person. No.
So what was he saying, Khore? What was his perspective on your views on hate?
He was just saying he knows I would help him because he didn't receive justice.
Okay.
Tatu Madiba, the son passed on a University of Cape Town. He drowned.
Ooh.
And he never knew the truth, what happened. And the university didn't want to take a responsibility. We investigated, we made recommendations, but unfortunately, we were taken on review by the university, by NPA as well, because we were saying at least let there be an inquest so that at least those people can be called. They can tell
the story,
what really happened, so that the family can get the closure.
Yeah.
So he was saying, I know and I'm trusting you will help.
Yeah.
But unfortunately then, with the kind of work we are doing, when the Constitutional Court said the report of the public protector is valid until set aside by a court, and people have a right to take us
contest
on review.
it, yes.
And till now we were just trying to do it justice.
Is that what happened in this case?
It's what happened.
So he ended up still not getting what he was hoping to get.
So you see the impact of...
It's a difficult job.
Yeah.
It's a difficult job. I must tell you, when you walked in and you had a smile on your face, I said, how the hell does she have a smile on her face?
You have to, man. You can't just go and...
all the time, eh?
Yeah, I mean, today I saw they've published good Parliament has, or the committee has sent the report to Parliament. It has been enlisted and it must be discussed, but we'll deal with that.
Yes.
But hey, life must go on.
And also the latest news as I was driving in was the recommendation of the Kgaleka. Yes, that too. It's like your department or your office, so to speak, makes the news every
Almost,
day.
yeah. Actually, there was a stage, I think around before COVID.
Yes.
I remember my younger brother even said, hi, COVID just gave us a breather. Because then every day, and I think, every day, every almost 2-3 hours.
You would have a news story. Right?
About me.
Incredible. Do you think you took the limelight more than the office itself at some point? And I'm not saying this in a positive way, that sometimes the headlines were more about you than the work you were meant to be doing.
No. It's true. Definitely, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And, in that office, and of which even now, what we really do, because 90% or 95% of the work we do is the bread and butter issues.
Yeah.
Nobody's interested in those. It's only concerned about that 2%, which
the sensational
with, the members of the executive or ministers and president.
Yeah.
And that. But if we could, that reporting daily about our work, South Africa will be a different country, especially on issues of service delivery.
Give us an example. And this is I know it's literally looking for a nail in a haystack. One example or two of the bread and butter type issues that your office deals with on a regular basis. Give us one such example.
It's a lot of them. I mean, David, if out of the, there's this statistics which I published some other time. In fact, we published before, but then I also had to tweet that it's public protector in numbers.
Okay.
Where I was showing that by February 2022, we received around 60,000 complaints since 2016 when I was appointed.
Yeah.
To February 2022. And out of those, we managed to help around 58,000 or resolve 58,000 complaints.
That's a high statistic.
Yes, and out of those, normally we resolve them through alternative dispute resolution. We call the department, we write to them. Mashabela came, is complaining about the delay to process their ID, is complaining about the delay to get their social grant, the delay to pay their pension, old age pension, or even their pension from government pension. You were a former public servant, you retired, or you resign.
You still haven't received your
There's
money.
a delay. So focus eningi of the public protector is dealing with your undue delay, maladministration related issues, which relates to undue delay to process any service of government.
Yo.
Issues relating to the abuse of power by the public servants. I mean, the issue of asking for bribes. When you've delivered a service to a government department, they must pay you. And now this supply chain manager is saying, no, pay me so much before
A percentage
we can pay
of that
you.
tender.
The delay to pay you as well, we investigate. So those are the bread and butter
Everyday
issues we're dealing with.
And they don't make the news.
They don't, unfortunately. So hence I'm saying if people can just focus on those and, report daily. I mean, if you would find SABC is a public broadcaster.
Yes.
But what are they reporting on? If they can report about those, and especially because some Chapter 9 institutions are there to support and strengthen constitutional democracy. If they can make it a point, they have a program where daily they report about that. The violation of human rights, which is the Human Rights Commission's work, the violation of women's rights or gender-related issues, Gender Commission, the public protector if it comes to the issues of maladministration. Daily report on that. Some 7 or 5 kids died yesterday, apparently, next to Lodia.
True. That's an important issue that would require a section 9 institution to probably look into.
Deal with that and work with the department and make recommendations which must be implemented to change the livelihood of South Africans. But no, it's too politicized.
Jeez. And it never used to be. Do you know, I remember a time before even the public protector came before you. I remember. Yes, I remember a time when the office of the public protector was not even known.
Yeah.
It was just another
was known
one of
after,
those.
because during Pakwa's time, I was working there.
Yes. What were you doing there? As a senior investigator.
Mushwana's time. I left during Mushwana's time. And it was not that much. I remember
it didn't make the news.
They were part of the collective who were investigating the issue of the arms deal. There was Auditor General, Public Protector, NPA, and I don't remember which other institution. But then with Madonsela, it was also quiet until the so-called Nkandla investigation, and then everybody said, ooh.
There's a department? There's an office like this?
Like this.
What do they do?
Yeah, and thereafter, I joined the institution at the height of that. And now with the change of administration, and this office was placed at the certain level. Now I come in, and I'm saying I would want to focus more on the issues of the poor, the marginalized, And then you remember again, my first week, I was then labeled, I'm fighting Madonsela, I'm doing this and that. But at the end of the day, I was just saying, you know what, I'm bringing my own shoes. I'm not going to wear any person's shoes. I'm bringing my own shoes. This is my way of doing my work. Yeah.
For me, what stands out, and maybe this is a moment to clarify the role of the PP. Not only you per se as the head in that regard, but also the division itself. So South Africans actually get to understand why it matters in this constitutional democracy of ours. What is its true purpose in the lives and the livelihood of South Africans?
That's a good question. And when you say what is its true purpose, a public protector, it's called throughout the world an ombudsman.
Yes.
And there's that issue. It was established during 1800s. There was this need by this king. You know how powerful a king is, Angit?
Yes.
Who said, you know what, I am a king, but I would need an office which will also remind me that come back. You need to be on track.
True.
So that office was established then.
Yeah.
And then it was established to then check the issues of abuse of power, issues of investigating maladministration, the issue of improper conduct. Throughout the world, ombudsman, that's what they do. So I remember also mentioning several times that the late Nelson Mandela, President Mandela, when he visited a university in Taiwan, said, you know what, as South Africa, we want to have a public defender in the constitution, before even the 1990, the constitution,
Jeez.
who will make sure that the person reminds us that you are now getting offline.
Yes.
You need to come.
As they
back
call it, speak
on
truth to power.
Exactly.
Oba rakgadi.
Hey,
In a family.
yes.
Rakgadi will say that.
Mo,
Yes.
Ali di John.
Yeah.
Yes. So now this office is established. Then when it was established in South Africa, at first it was like any other Chapter 9 institution, your Human Rights Commission,
Yes.
Gender Commission, because the way it was crafted, it was in such a way that to appoint a public protector and the Auditor General, and the removal of these two, you need a 2/3 majority. So they then had to change and make it to be different to the others, seeing how important and how
True.
powerful they are, because it's a world-renowned institution which will have to hold those who are in power to account.
True.
Now, the Constitutional Court in the Nkandla judgment as well, Chief Justice Mkhwebane went further and said, this is a constitution. It's a biblical. It's like a biblical David, which the public is facing a Goliath
All the time.
all the time, because
Yes.
Goliath, I mean, the state is well resourced.
True.
They have all the resources. They don't want to lose face. Chinese would say that they don't want to lose face or to be embarrassed. So the public protector then is there to hold any lever of the state to account. Hence, we have this institution. We focus more on the public servants, what they are supposed to be doing, act according to what their policies are saying.
Yeah.
And we also then, as a public protector, which is another responsibility, which makes the public protector now to be in the limelight, kind of.
Yeah.
Because the Executive Members Ethics Act, that's the one which then says the public protector, you also have to investigate the executive, which is your ministers, the president, deputy minister, president, deputy ministers. So that legislation then brought the public protector to this kind of political
spaces.
space.
Yes.
Yeah. So the public protector, hence I'm saying 90%, 95% to 97% is those bread and butter issues which I've mentioned. So that's what we do.
Yeah.
Because normally when you've applied for a position, let's say they advertise a position of an assistant clerk, then they say the requirements are, or of a director, degree, 4 years experience. They advertise qualification, PR or whatever, you apply. And now you say, ish, maybe I'll get the job.
Yeah.
Then the next thing, they appoint somebody with a matric with no experience.
Yes.
You come to us, you complain. We approach the institution. Can you give us the advert? Who applied? Who you shortlisted? Who did you interview? What is your policy saying
In
about
this
recruitment
regard?
and selection?
Yeah.
Then we check that. Then we come back and say, no, but you advertised the position like this, but you appointed this. And your policy is saying, indeed, and this position has been graded or evaluated, you need to appoint a person at this level. Therefore, there is a finding.
Yes.
You acted wrongly. Then in that instance, we normally would issue a report, and that report then it's binding per the Nkandla judgment.
That's it.
Then if you are not happy, then you are free to take us on review, because remember, the public protector as well cannot have unfettered powers.
Absolutely.
Naye must be
Accountable.
overseen and
Yes.
accountable.
Yeah.
So that's basically what the public protector does.
In your David Goliath analogy, the David is not the public protector, it's the people.
It's the people.
Yeah. It's the people that are always the small player in
Exactly.
this battle.
And you know that office actually is indeed it's a constitutional gift to the people, because you don't have the money to or the resources. I mean, litigation is very expensive.
Yeah.
Hence, our services are free. You can then approach the public protector. We have offices around the provinces and even regional offices. You can even apply, in fact, lodge a complaint through email.
Yeah.
You can call. We've got a toll-free number. You can call and then you are helped how to lodge your complaint. It's followed up. But then when, throughout my years, because we're speaking about the public protector, came up with a vision 2023, where I said it will have 8 pillars. And those 8 pillars is for us how progressively we build the capacity of the public. This David,
Yes.
Uguti, David, you should know about your rights. You should also have the power to be your own public protector, your own liberator. Because we had these pillars where if you have a complaint like that, you must first approach that institution. If they are not helping you, then come to the public protector. But even if you haven't, because some people might not know, are not literate and
They
whatever,
don't know where to go
but
first.
we need to help you.
Yes.
Exactly. And we wanted a situation where when you approach those institutions, Kwazona, those institutions must have complaints offices so that they know that when you come in, you want to complain about their services, there's somebody who must help you. So that was one of the pillars. And then at the end of the day, we have people who are public protectors in each and every
Province.
province household.
Yes.
I mean, one of the best which one has done as well is to have e-app. Where, I mean, a lot of young people have e-app, and you can go to that app. You can then check, I'm having a complaint about this department or this issue. Then we are guiding you where you can go, or you can lodge your complaint with us. So that makes you
realize
it makes
your
us,
power
exactly
as
an individual.
Yeah.
So that's what one tried to do.
Do you know something that stands out for me? And I guess it stands out more for me because even when I did my master's, I researched on this, on government communication. It comes across a lot in a lot of the conversations I have. I had Butima Namela in the studio not so long ago, and we were talking about the challenges they're facing and as fast and all of that. And something that comes across almost immediately is that government doesn't communicate enough. Because I think the responsibility of communicating the role of the public protector goes beyond just the public protector.
Exactly.
Other departments should do the same. It's almost like a complaints desk within government.
Yeah.
Is you guys. So that means even the parliament must encourage these telling South Africans that there's a complaints desk. If you're unhappy.
Yes, because you're mentioning a very critical issue at Parliament.
Yeah.
Normally, I used to say Parliament, the speakers are our counterpart, direct counterpart, because remember, Constitution requires our speaker to hold the executive to account.
True.
And to do oversight, to go to various government departments to do oversight. I think, remember last time they went to RAF and they were saying they found files and stuff. So that's the responsibility of Parliament. Unfortunately, in South Africa, the issue Parliament and the role of Parliament and the ruling party, it's a challenge because you find that in the ruling party, unfortunately, I'll have to bring this
because it's a perfect example.
Yes, it's one of the things which is stifling the issue accountability and the issue service delivery.
Yeah.
And I engaged the speakers around the provinces where you'd find that a speaker is a senior member party. Ne? Within the ANC.
True.
But the premier is the chairperson of the province. So now the problem is, in political wise, you account to me.
Yes, but
when it comes to administration and government,
it's the other way around.
It's the other. But now you find that the very same speaker also then will have to be careful in how they and which is wrong. So if you had a speaker and members of parliament who will hold them to account, you come, you report premier, you come MEC, you come minister. So even the speaker of parliament and the president, who president is a president of party.
Yes, but
and will decide to go to where you go.
Sure.
So you'll try to then. So that's the challenge. But if we had a situation where indeed we had a very robust and people are held to account, we wouldn't find a situation where you have this kind of ESCOM. Now you have to, I mean, you are fortunate, you'll have an alternative in case of load shedding.
But 99%
and it's
of South
violating your
Africans-
rights.
yes.
99%. Exactly.
South Africans
They don't have
an
money.
alternative. Yeah. You know, you raise a point, something that stood out once in Parliament, and if I'm quoted incorrectly, I apologize, where a speaker referred to a president and said, Bab, asbamele. There was noise in the gallery. And the reference already to Baba, asbamele, already tells you
Exactly.
the dynamics of the relationship.
Power relations.
Exactly. And that power relations surely extends beyond work. It says the respect I have for this person is so high that it's highly unlikely I will discipline them should the time come.
Thank you.
So that is at the core of some of our challenges.
But now you find a situation where, yes, it's in our culture to do that.
Absolutely.
I must respect you, but when I must hold you to account, I think we need to be very firm and deal with the facts before us.
True.
And say, indeed, you need to account as far as this is concerned. So that is happening a lot.
In sometimes probably not only in Parliament, even in
Provincial
provinces,
legislation.
in
That's what I'm saying. That's what I've
municipalities.
picked up.
Yes.
And that's what is happening. So now, if the issue of e-service delivery is just put aside,
Oh,
we are focusing on my space and my plate.
the politics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, again, now it's politics of the stomach. Some people then are checking where, I mean, yeah, I might be removed and I need to be in this position. Where are you, Kewena, who doesn't have water? You don't have,
Jeez,
people are living in shacks, squatter camps and
Yes.
all those.
Whew. There's places where they haven't had electricity for a month, for 3 weeks. There's a
It's
part of
horrible.
South Africa, in Pretoria. I was reading about it this morning, where the people haven't had electricity in 3 weeks. Nothing at all, and no one is saying anything.
Because, well, yes, the DA will say we are the best. They are the ones who are running that municipality. They should be checking and making sure that people have the resources. But Angiti as well, apparently there's a strike. But then going back to Parliament also, which is very critical, is that I used to say to them, they've got a petitions process.
Okay.
It's a public participation where the speaker must have that program, engage the public and call in bizos where people can complain and lodge. And then that's where I was saying to them, let's have that partnership. Actually, during my term earlier, I used to even have MOU now to say, okay, when you handle these matters, there are those matters where you pick up that there's corruption. Public protector, you need to investigate. Then you hand them over to the public protector. But the ones which you can resolve and hold the executive to account, do that. And also encouraging people to just complain and know you can't just keep quiet about your issues. But then that process as well, it never pick up the way I would have wanted, because then there was that issue. Sometimes one always tried to say, we are here, we want to help you. I mean, I remember even addressing ministers when we were taking them through, not ministers, MECs and premiers and in the provinces, the Executive Members Ethics Act, taking them through, this is the behavior you need to avoid. You cannot behave like this. You cannot do work. You cannot expose yourself to a conflict of interest. You need to stay away from these particular issues. Also, within your department, minister or Njalo Wena MEC, because we never had that opportunity, unfortunately, with the
ministers.
You need to, when you pick up that there's corruption, there's nothing stopping you from approaching the public protector. Public protector, I've got this. Instead of appointing
A
forensic
commission
companies.
and
Exactly.
yes.
Here's the public protector. You know, avail all the documents for us to just investigate and check. And you speaking about the issue of communication in government. You know, the late Kara Asma.
Former Minister of Education.
Yes.
At some point.
At
yes.
some point. I remember he wrote to the public protector, I think it was Mushwana's time, where he said, public protector, can you investigate the issue of communication within government? Because it doesn't seem to be something...
Wow, I didn't know that.
And there are a lot of red tapes. And so how can we improve? And then it was indeed investigated, and there were recommendations to improve on that. So what I'm saying is, as public protector, you are taken as if you are this enemy.
That's how it's been portrayed. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's portrayed like that because of this Executive Members Ethics Act.
That's what it is.
Because then people don't want to be held to account.
During a Zuma era, there was and I guess that's when Mkhwebane raised that Mkhwebane rather raised it, that the Parliament has to hold executive to account. It became now even pronounced by a constitutional judge. The reason I raised this is because now, very recently, with the farm, the PHALA, Parliament collectively, excluding one amongst the ANC, is maybe one or two or some that didn't attend on that day. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. It was clear that it was a numbers game more than it was anything else. That means the members of Parliament would not hold executive to account because the numbers are in their favor, which questions the very point that you and I are trying to discuss here.
That's a brilliant analogy, and something which you bring up as this person who's not a member of Parliament or even maybe legally qualified.
No, I'm not.
But then it's good what you're saying, because then it shows you, and again to the young people out there, and any person, when you vote, and you vote for somebody to go and represent, because remember, members of Parliament are the voices of the people. But unfortunately, with the current arrangement, they are not the voice of the people. They are the voice of their party, especially the ANC. Because irrespective of, if you say this robot is green, and when the caucus of the ANC says the robot is not green, the robot is red. The robot is red.
Even if when you look at it, it's green.
That's what, I mean, that is a great example which you've shown.
Yeah.
While undergoing through that very painful, horrible process, the Section 194 committee.
Yeah.
You can explain yourself, and or even my legal team, until we are blue in the face.
Yeah.
When the ANC says, and they are in the majority, this is green.
It's green.
Unfortunately, it's green, irrespective of
what color it is.
Exactly. So unfortunately, then that's the what is that called? Is that the democracy we want? Is that what we want as South Africans? Because if you go and vote, you should vote and send uMashabela Lapa to represent you, and knowing
that he will hold executive to account, knowing that he will be ethical,
yes.
All those principles would apply.
Because what Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, did was one of
was historic.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you check, upresident iboss yakhe.
Yeah.
Hence I said to you, Guti, Phela, the president in the ANC is their senior. And coming back, you say no, you have to, because that's what accountability should be.
Yeah.
Because she's not saying you are guilty. She's saying
go and investigate.
There's a case, you need to give your side of the story in a formal process. Like what because I remember DA, though they hate me so much, they said no, with the public protector, those the three panel members said there's a prima facie case for the PP to answer.
Yeah.
Now PP is undergoing that. Let him do the same thing. But anyway, that's
Yeah,
another issue.
it applied differently for you than it did for him. Understandably, is the president.
Because the power he has
Is way greater than yours in that
mine.
context.
Yes. Yeah.
That's an interesting reality of our country, because it has happened before with former President Jacob Zuma.
It's true.
Exactly the
The
same.
same thing.
It played out exactly the same way, where if it wasn't for the efforts of opposition parties, EFF in particular,
And
who
DA.
kept on, and DA, who
And
kept
they
on
went
pushing.
to the Constitutional Court.
Exactly. However, your story also went to the Constitutional Court. But the finding was different
Exactly.
this time around.
So that's another concerning issue, because at the end of the day, that's why I would say, and remain controversial. I know possibly you said some of the media will take directly from what you were saying, because I've said it anyway several times, that unfortunately in South Africa, the way the constitution was drafted, and we had apparently people from UK, US coming to help during prior 1994.
Codesa era and all
They
of that.
made sure that we have this constitution.
Amazing, great constitution.
Unfortunately, this is a horrible constitution, because it doesn't speak to the South African context. And unfortunately, this constitution, the way it was crafted, you'd find in other countries, such as UK, they don't have a constitution like ours. It's various legislations governing each area. And that I discovered when I was investigating that issue at Reserve Bank. They don't have a Reserve Bank in their constitution. It's a legislation which will deal with that. Like we'll find out Australia will have that as a national legislation. And when the circumstances of the country change, then they go, it's easy to amend.
Review that one page.
But Tinage, it was difficult, because it's like you don't touch, because the constitution is this. And whereas again, coming back to what I normally say in a constitution, because I'm saying, I pity whichever party will be. Currently it's the ANC. It might be in the next elections, the ANC or EFF or ATM or whoever. The biggest mischief of this country is the constitution, because that's the one which will make the 11 judges of the Constitutional Court to have a final say.
However,
irrespective of what the people or the democracy or the issues are saying.
So ultimately, there's a group of final sayers, and their story is final.
And that's it.
Irrespective of who they are. And they
look, President Zuma went to jail.
He did.
Where have you seen somebody? It was the first time, and possibly it's the last time, where, Tina, we are trained in law. We know that, for a criminal case, contempt of court, that was a civil contempt. It should have had a different way of dealing with him if he's being dealt with. But then say 15 months in jail.
It's amazing.
Now it's happening to him. It might happen to you.
That's the thing
your
about
child,
it. Interesting.
And your child and your child.
Because today your life is good. Tomorrow you are at the bottom.
Who would have thought Constitutional Court will say I must pay personal costs from my pocket? The very same
as a public protector.
Thank you. Doing my work.
Yeah. You realize that it questions a lot of things about the nature of our country. And lately, and I say lately because maybe it's my observation that he does it more often than before, former President Thabo Mbeki is poking at all these things a lot more than he used to. Even very recently, he said he doesn't see himself supporting the ANC campaign in 2024. Because of a lot of the things that is criminal. Exactly. He says criminals that are corrupt. He used that phrase actually. And before, he even spoke about that moment when ANC members went against, went to support of the president and said, we will not investigate the PHALA matter according to them. He's saying, but that is incorrect because you're not saying he's guilty. You're saying maybe we should look into this thing.
Yes, exactly. Phela, that was all about. In fact, it was purely to say, come account, tell us what happened, what documentation was there, was not there. So that's all. And I mean, if you do that as the political party or as the ruling party or whoever is in government, people will respect you because they would say, you know what, these people are respecting us. And indeed, these people, we send them to parliament. Let's not forget that. Remember, when you vote, unfortunately, our system in South Africa is that when you vote a political party,
Who they choose is
they
their
choose.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you don't have any control in that. And that's an unfortunate part. So,
Wow.
but I think those parties, Nabo, they should just change and say, you know what, let's respect the people who brought us here.
Who are the people on the ground?
Yes, and let's be seen to be doing something at least, but that's not happening.
Why do you think you were suspended?
For Phala, 31 questions.
The 31 questions you sent.
Exactly.
It's
I
not
did.
even, and I say this because the president, if I asked the president that question, he wouldn't give that same answer.
He wouldn't say that. And I mean, I know some people are saying, no, but that was indeed coming. It's not true. You know what? The process started in 2020 of Mazon submitting the motion to Parliament that I must be investigated because I'm incompetent and only referring to 4 court judgments against me. In fact, it relates to 4 investigations which I did. The Reserve Bank matter, the CX, the Busasa matter, the so-called rogue unit, Yase SARS, and then the Friede
Dairy Farm, yes.
And then when we were exchanging then communication with with Parliament, the speaker then I said, no, but okay, you want to deal with me, you cannot just directly deal with me in section 194. Where are the rules of engagements, the rules or something like that?
Yeah.
And as well, where's these things happened long time ago, so you cannot deal with me on things which have already happened. Now Mazonu withdrew that motion. Then the following day submitted a new motion after engaging one of the staff members who was very disgruntled, Hamilton Samuel.
Oh yes.
Who assaulted the old man, Mr. Siabe.
I remember.
And was never dealt with. And Mina, I only became aware of that matter when Mr. Siabe was suing the office. Then I said, what is happening?
Yes.
Then he thought Mina, I investigated him, or I'm using SSA state security to investigate on them. I never knew.
Yeah.
But then Umazon then grabbed that opportunity, because when I discovered, I said, no, let's deal with this, but then we cannot be seen not to be doing anything. We need to deal with the disciplinary action, and not to say, I said find him guilty, but then what transpired, we need to deal with
at
it
least understand what
internally.
happened. Yes.
Then he was angry. Then he wrote to the speaker complaining. Then Mazon grabbed it.
Wow.
Then he resubmitted a motion.
What was different from the first and the second
Then
motion?
they included the issue of the staff. And then that's when they brought Abu Bona Mkhaladi, Lisedi, I think it was Matlawe, Hamilton, Tebogo. Then they brought that issue in and then brought this other. And because those judgments, some of them we were still appealing.
They still haven't taken their natural course. Yes.
Now then they were part of that thing. So yes, the process was still ongoing. But then what broke the camel's back was when the ATM lodged a complaint, President Wakwanu Zungula, with the office, the issue of Phala. And now
this is happening independent of Mazoni's efforts.
Exactly.
They're two separate issues.
Yes. Because that's part of our investigation. We're still undergoing that process. So good, there's letters. Parliament now is moved ahead. They've appointed the evidence leaders. They are moving ahead, though I'm taking them to court. But you cannot do this. You should. And taking them to court, it helped because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have illegal representation.
Yeah.
Because Bonama rules were no, you don't need, you are legally qualified. But my issue is, I am legally qualified, but what about, because it was saying Chapter 9 institutions.
That's
what
why.
about somebody with a human
Who's
rights
not-
commission
who's
who's
not
not
legally
legally
qualified,
qualified?
yeah.
So, and West Parliament even opposed that until we Constitutional Court. EDA never opposed that issue. They said, you are entitled. And indeed, Constitutional Court said, no, I must have a legal representation. The
Yes.
very same one they are violating now. Sending me questions, drafting a report, discussing without my legal representation. But coming back to the suspension, then President, I write, and normally when a person is saying, I've lodged a complaint with the public protector, normally you'll receive 4, 5, 6 media inquiries.
Okay.
So sometimes it's better to issue a statement to address all of them
True.
instead of
True.
this.
Yes. Instead of
Then,
responding to individual media
that
houses.
was the issue.
Yeah.
Then on the 8th of June, I issued the statement that indeed we received a complaint, we are investigating, and then we've already
president,
sent the questions to the president, so that, because normally when we investigate, we don't just investigate you, we come to you.
Okay.
Mr. Mashabela, we received a complaint from
So-and-so.
Busisiwe.
Yes. Do you have to tell who is complaining?
If the complainant is not anonymous.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Because we said ATM, and it was not only ATM, I think it was also FF Plus or DA or something.
Yeah.
Then for us to invest, can you answer the following questions? And by then, we argued a Western Cape because there was still that thing, Yoguti, he wrote a letter to me in March
Yes.
saying, tell me why I should not suspend you. And we were still dealing with that, part A, where I was still interdicting, you can't suspend, you are conflicted, and all those. And of which he acknowledged it before which he is conflicted.
Yes.
Because there are matters which are before me and others were before court. I mean, my things as well are choreographed most of the time, because you'd find that some judgments, the way they are issued is just to clear for certain something, and then,
Wow.
well, I've got evidence, and
Yes.
I mean, I've seen that. Now the president decided to suspend, not even writing, not even saying anything. Boom. I see that in the media, which I'm suspended.
Oh,
And
you didn't know before the media knew. You saw it in the media. Wow.
And by then, we were waiting for the judgment, so Western Cape, the following day. So it means he knew what was the outcome, which said no.
That's crazy. Because I'm sitting here wondering that your engagement with the president's office, with those questions, and did you get any reaction at all besides seeing the media saying you're suspended? Did you get any reaction at all from the president? Did he say, I found them, I'm attending to them? As a public protector, remember, you're protecting us.
No.
Nothing.
Nothing, because, I mean, it happened within 2 days, remember?
Yes.
I was suspended with effect from the 9th of June, and that was it.
So your question, your answer to why you were suspended is because you asked the question, you asked the president to answer the 31 questions, the PHALA. What reason did the presidency give you?
No, he was saying because of the ongoing process of the hearing, the committee has been appointed, evidence leaders have been appointed, you should answer to Parliament because there's allegations that you are incompetent and you've committed misconduct.
Yes, incompetence, all of that, yes. You obviously said it was unlawful. The Western Cape High Court said agreed with you.
And said it was vindictive, ulterior motive.
Exactly.
It was as a result of the PHALA investigation.
But the Constitutional Court disagreed with both you and the High Court, which is its role, I guess, is to then look at it and say, why do you think that is? And I know this question brings us back where we started. But what do you think that is?
Well, it's dealing with me, personally, and to make sure. I mean, earlier you asked the issue of the media focusing more on me than the work which I've done.
The office.
Exactly.
Than the office.
And remember, under my leadership, getting 3 clean audits, and not only clean audits, they were packed with improved performance.
Wow.
Because when I
We don't know
arrived
that.
there, yes, the performance was below 20, if I'm not mistaken, and we pushed it. I would say we, because we worked with the team, and the way I was holding the team to account, we cannot be seen to be the ones who's delaying to do the work, because we need to lead by example. We investigating and you delay. We cannot come back and delay.
Yeah.
When I was suspended, I think we were around almost 79%.
What? Performance.
And I remember the chairperson of the portfolio committee, of the Justice Portfolio Committee, was saying, no, with the next year, we are expecting you to reach 80% to 85%.
Keep going. Jeez.
So unfortunately, but the biggest problem was the investigation, which I did, the Reserve Bank. And when you deal with the Reserve Bank, you are touching the world politics, world imperialists, unfortunately.
Which investigations that remind all of us?
The Reserve Bank, the CX investigation, where Bankop was a gift. Was given to the Reserve Bank.
Yes.
My predecessor investigated that matter for 6 years to 7 years.
Yeah.
Then when I arrived, when you
Still
wanted
incomplete.
to clean, sweep, and you do
For
your
move
work.
finish.
You move my furniture, clean as here.
That
was my downfall. That and almost all of those investigations which she left, the Freede as well, the same thing.
You found the Freede Dairy Farm.
I did.
Active.
It was 4 years in the office. The CX was around 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
5-6 years. So I issued that report and all those accusations. How do you do that? How can you recommend like this?
Jeez. Remind us very briefly of the recommendations of the Reserve Bank findings. What were your recommendations?
The first one was, the investigation, the way, hence I said to you, the research which we conducted was to check how the Reserve Banks are operating in other countries. And why the Reserve Bank is because the complaint by this advocate Hoffman to my predecessor was that the state money was used to pay this CX company to investigate and recoup the monies which we lost during the transition.
Yes.
And one of those was the illegal gift which was given to this Bankop. They didn't have the resources. It was a bank, and they borrowed money from the Reserve Bank, and Reserve Bank was giving the money, and they never repaid, and until ABSA took over that bank. And when we were investigating, we then discovered that ABSA says the money, actually the loan was paid, but then we didn't find any proof the interest to the loan was paid back.
Was the principal funds paid though? The main.
That's what they showed us. They said it has been paid.
Yeah.
So the main thing was that one. So, and remember again, Judge Davis in the past investigated the very same thing and said it's an unlawful gift. Judge Heath, though there was no report, but there was a media statement, because when we check with SIU, where's the report? There was no report. I met with the presidency, especially the late legal advisor, President Wood. Where's the report? But since the SIU proclamation was issued by the then president, is it possible then to relook into this matter? Because we cannot just leave it.
Yes.
That's one of the recommendations. And after the presidency said, public protector, you cannot recommend because the former public protector, the draft was saying there must be a commission of inquiry.
Okay.
And by then they said, no, it can't be, because there's this issue is state of capture, which is before court. You cannot also make the same. And as
Another
well,
one.
checking, okay, can we go back to the root cause? How can we resolve this? So then the recommendation was saying, okay, SIU, reopen this investigation.
Okay.
Can you re-look into it? Check whether,
Everything is above board. Yes.
who benefited, who was paid, and so that we can recoup this money. And again, SIU, because you can, in the mid investigation, you can attach certain properties, you can do that. You have those powers, which we don't have.
You don't have that. Yeah.
Then the other one was that, the way the Reserve Bank mandate is in the Constitution, it needs to be relooked and made those recommendations. Because as a public protector, as an ombudsman, you have those powers because you are there to show those in leadership that, this one, you will never get anywhere with this kind of mandate.
Yeah.
You need to a mandate which will then also include the issue of, empowering or employment creation and all those. Because you can't have a situation where only a few can have access to the resources of the Reserve Bank and the state and whatever.
Which is how it is even now.
Currently. So then that was my biggest sin.
You regard it as sleeping dogs that you poked and they woke up.
A lot. And I was criticized in all angles.
Yeah.
And it was just purely to say, to assist you, we have this problem and there are these resources. Can we look into them? But then again, you don't do that. You don't touch the Reserve Bank. And I was punished because I was punishing my personal costs.
Oh, yes. The ruling said you pay for the...
So for me, it's that personal cost. And then this Hoffman again went ahead and opened a perjury case, which I'm still...
dealing with even now.
Even now. It was postponed to 26 October, if I'm not mistaken. Because we are saying to Patoi and NPA, you can't proceed with this.
Yeah.
Because what the judges said, they confirmed what the High Court was saying, and of which is not the truth of what was captured there. And the minority judgment, Mkhwebane, captured it very clearly.
Yeah.
The explanation I gave on when did we use the economist and the issue of, because at first I was accused that I met with the president. Later that charge was withdrawn. I never met with the president and discussed this matter. I met with the legal advisor of the president. In fact, I met with the presidency.
Yes, exactly.
And why did I meet with the state security agency? Why was I trying to... And I mean, the issue was, I wanted to understand, because that contract was signed between, that MOU between the, by then South African Secret Service with this foreign company. It's like a spy company. So normally when you do that, you need the
clearance,
both intelligence to work together.
Okay.
So I wanted to check, was this indeed signed? Do you know anything about this? Which was the issue of confirmation. I wouldn't just put in the report without verifying that that happened.
When you look at personal costs that always followed you with some of the judgments, do you think in the long run it becomes discouraging of the role of the public protector? Because as the final stem, you question yourself twice now. That maybe I'm wrong and I might end up having to pay for this if I'm wrong. What happens to those moments where you realize that maybe I could be making a wrong judgment and it'll affect me personally?
It made me to just go on and on to tell myself, you know what, I wouldn't allow them to instill fear. Remember, the public protector must do their work without fear or favor. Now that was instilling fear in me. And I was also fighting it and defending this mandate because I was trying to protect my successors.
True.
That they mustn't be exposed to something like this. Not only them, but other Chapter 9 institutions. So And what's worse is that I'm being said to be incompetent by the DA and them only for regarding these 4 matters, forgetting that I think by that February 2022, I told you the states, I already issued around 412 reports. So by
Out
then,
of 400 and so
12,
reports, yes.
I'm accounting for this
For
4,
four.
and I was punished for the Reserve Bank with personal costs. The Busasa
Did it carry personal costs?
didn't.
Yeah.
And I think there was Friede, which carried personal costs. And Friede, the judges in the High Court who told me, who waited for the Concord to issue the personal costs one, also clobbered me with personal costs,
Sure.
where Kasak and DA were saying, I changed my Doncella's report.
Mm.
And when I called my Doncella as a witness hearing, my Doncella said, no, I never drafted a report.
And yet
there's a
they're saying you changed their report.
And the Concord said I must pay those personal costs.
It forces me a little bit to go to this direction. I got Uma Matonsel as a hostile witness during your hearing. Why do you think that was?
I called her so that, she also, she has gone through a lot, remember.
As
she
a
was
PP as well.
As a PP,
Yeah.
was attacked, was criticized. But I also thought because the investigations happened under her watch
True.
for many years, and I thought she would come there and just explain the mandate, the role, who are the investigators, how the investigation is conducted, where do I come in. And now she ended up also distancing herself and the behavior. I don't know whether it was justified. And I think others then were saying my SC Umpofu was attacking her. I think it's a question of how she also answered, how she compiled her affidavit, and also trying to make sure that things are done properly. And also when she was asked about simple questions, you asked me one question about what I don't remember, but I should be answering you genuinely and openly.
That's
Are you
it.
an
There's no
admitted advocate?
it's not a complicated
It's not a complicated
environment.
thing.
Yeah.
You just accept and agree to that. So I think
It was
I thought she
it
would
stood that
help.
moment stood out that we would expect you both to be on the same side, so to speak. But it seemed like there was a hostility, and I wouldn't know where it was coming from. And maybe also because hostility can be observed differently by two people. Maybe we think she was hostile and she wasn't.
I don't know.
Yes.
But the others think she was not, because
You see, that's
there's-
exactly my
there's
point.
organizations, your famous NGOs, and those who are funded by foreign funders, who've lodged complaints with the Legal Practice Council against Advocate Mpofu.
wow. Saying he was the one who was hostile.
They're saying that about Judge Grechla of Freedom Under Law, that the way Mpofu behaved. I mean, if they knew that it was an issue of just bringing her
Yes.
to say how that office operates,
That's
what needs
it,
to
yes.
happen. And unfortunately with me, the judges were used to deal with me because it was not a process to determine, because in my performance agreement, or when I was appointed, I was never told you must win all cases.
But you expected to win all cases.
And the very same judges, you'd find that their performance were themselves, Abu Tolmei, Abu Poterel, Abu Bakwa, and whatever. Their cases would be set aside by a higher court. No one will
And
say
then we
pay
move on.
personal costs.
Yes, and we move on from that because one constitution and the law is a living being that continues to evolve
Exactly.
with society, and we continue to learn that maybe we made a mistake here.
Exactly.
Let's fix it. That's what the law is.
It's all about.
And
Yes.
and the people who are questioning those moments surely shouldn't be punished.
Exactly, because I mean that's why as a public protector I said to you earlier, the good thing is that you'll issue the report, and if you faltered, it will be set aside by a court. And before as well, the court would say we review. send it back to the person so
Okay.
that you can redo the matter.
True.
But with me, then there was this issue which was so popular during that time. The report must not be sent back. For it, it must just be set aside.
Wow.
And then it was the issue of personal cost, which was popular. If you oppose it, then personal cost.
You must
What's
pay.
worse, yes, there was which one? Or the Financial Services Board one, where I was not going to oppose it. Actually, I requested that it be set aside because during the process, I discovered from the senior counsel that no, when I'm consulting with the chief investigator and your executive manager, they said actually this report is reviewable, and they acknowledge that there's evidence they didn't put forth.
Yeah.
Then I said, okay, let's set this aside, bring it back. Then I was also blamed for that. And when I was disciplining those people, no, I'm paging them. I'm dealing with them.
Do you know, it brings me to a point, and I know I move around quite a bit in this little space. Your last statement a minute ago was the judges were sent to deal with you. It came across again in the recordings that the courts are with the president. That statement stands out.
Throughout.
Yes, it does. And you seem to be, almost saying, well, you experienced it. What is your interpretation of the statement? The president, the courts are with the president.
I mean, the late Tina Jumat Peterson, may her soul rest in peace. I mean, she's the one who said that, and indeed, on all the cases, which case did the president lose recently?
But maybe he deserves to win. I'm just saying that could be a possibility.
Okay.
Devil's advocate. Let's.
No. If there would be 2 against 3, who say, no, man, you are blaming this person.
Sundowns wins every game. It's possible to win every game.
Not with the courts. And remember, again, Mashabela, I'm labeled this incompetent person. And throughout the cases which I was saying, let's defend the mandate of the public protector, I've been using very experienced, well-known advocates. So,
you were
in
not
other
doing
words,
this alone. Yes.
So, in other words, they are saying, actually, this is about blacks and black professionals. So people might think it's about me. I'm being labeled as that. I mean, I remember when the public protector of Zambia, I called to testify, whose evidence I don't think it was even entertained in the report. I haven't checked the report. But she was saying it's worrisome to see Uguti, you'd take the judgments as if now the judges are being used to remove
this person.
Yeah. Because now that's what they focused on. Those judgments. I testified on Busasa and the so-called rock unit and clarified myself. And with the SC, we tried to show, the issue Busasa. This was the evidence before me. These were the bank statements, the monies, the email from the president telling them move this money to where. Now must I keep quiet and not say anything and have a finding on that? The issue of the so-called rogue unit, where I'm blamed to know you never dealt, you said it in your report that you've never seen the Inspector General. And I mean, when we were questioning this witness, Ufan Lokharampe, where Bako said in my report, I said, where in my report?
Do you find that? Yeah.
There's no way. And by that, I'm dishonest. I'm this person. Apparently, I'm also a state security agent.
Oh yeah, that came across. But you're not the first. You're not the first to get that. I think who former PP also
as
got something
was
similar
like
to that. It was called a
CIA spy. So that's what this position is all about. Unfortunately, it's not an easy position where you are trying to protect the blacks. Unfortunately, they are using them against you.
Yeah. What confuses me the most about this position is that your job is to defend the masses against government, essentially.
Exactly.
Because government and those who play a role in the government system, yes, that's your job. but it ends up, and I say your job, not as you personally, but your office.
Office, yeah.
I think we tend to, and this is what has happened with you, particularly your time. It has become about you.
Instead of
the
office.
office.
But I think it started with Madonsela
Yes.
after the Nkandla, because then it was about
Yes, personally.
her personally instead of the office.
Yeah, and that's why for me we miss it. That's why you are
true.
called, you know,
Zupta,
you know what I mean.
Gupta,
And they don't call your
Zuma
office
person.
exactly. They
Yeah,
don't call your
I don't
office.
know.
They call you that person, and I think that's where we miss it as South African public, that your job is your office. And I'm looking at, if you had to redesign the office of the public protector at all. This is me now throwing in my 2 cents worth, very ignorant perspective. A committee more than a person. And it's designed like this is a committee of people, similar to the Constitutional Court, if you think about it.
True.
Where it's a committee of people.
Because you have investigators who are doing all this work.
They contribute to this. And you have senior counsels who play a role in the final
when you
document
defend,
that's
exactly.
drafted. And then everybody throws in, and there it is. And then there's debates, I imagine. You don't always
There
agree
is.
internally in the public protector. Not all, yeah, we agree, he did it. There must be those who are saying, but maybe you didn't look at this.
There are reports which were like those when we discuss, because there were quality assurance, which has been there. I found it there, and indeed we continued with it. And there would be where they are saying, no, but here we don't have this. And you'll have to guide the team, or sometimes they have findings, and you'll say, but findings, this doesn't flow. Where do you find this information? Or you'll then turn it back and say, no.
Go back.
You cannot say, we are closing the matter, there's nothing. But what about this?
Yes.
What about this and that and that? How do we make them to learn from this process and not repeat it going forward?
Yeah.
So maybe then to change it, because hence I said to you earlier, the way the Constitution was drafted, it was only the Public Protector and the Auditor General. And you don't find that with the Auditor General. And then that's when even the removal of the two, you need the 2/3.
Yes.
Whereas the others, they have
Commissions, yeah.
And in the commissions, you've got various commissioners.
Okay.
Who then sits as a commission. So with me and the Auditor General, the final decision is the Public Protector.
Yes.
Though the work is done by the
team.
And when it reaches my desk, it's when the team has done all the investigation, drafted everything, and you guide them. What about this? Because in Friday, remember, I was accused, I removed politicians. Whereas
from the findings.
Exactly,
yes.
and it was not there. Because, in fact, the investigation, the way it was lodged, it was dealing with the supply chain, how the company was admitted and stuff like that. And the investigation for a number of years was focusing on that.
Yeah.
And I think towards the end, before Madonsela left, I heard only during the testimony of Samuel that she then said, no, you need to look into the role of
politicians, yes.
Which was not one of the issues, because when you start an investigation, it's like your terms of reference or your project plan. When they receive a complaint, they draft what we call investigation plan.
Okay.
And out of that, when you send this question to the person you are investigating, when they respond, then you determine what issues I'm going to investigate. It's like your terms of reference.
Yeah.
So in the original investigation,
terms of reference,
there was never issues
political.
And even if the then Premier Magashula former Premier was asked about certain things, the Premier then said, well, what was your role? And when the Section 79 was sent to him, there was a finding on you failed as the politicians to do the following. And his response to that was saying, no, we didn't, because when we were supposed to act on the report, National Treasury, Accountant General, that we should discipline the following officials, Then the DA lodged the complaint with the public protector. So we couldn't act on this because we were waiting for the public protector to deal with it.
Yes.
So how do you then continue to have that finding when you have an explanation?
It's an interesting thing because when one does research on you, Friede stands out, Estina Dairy Farm stands out, PHALA naturally stand out, Reserve Bank stands out. Those four, and I wonder if
And
I'm missing
Busasa.
Busasa, of course, stands out. And I must admit, I'd forgotten that Friede, you found it on the stove already.
3 years down there, 3 to 4 years.
On the stove, you looked at it and said, maybe a few spices, and let's dish it out.
Let's dish it out.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes,
That's
it
what
was-
happened.
yeah.
Unfortunately, then.
It became your story. How about my idea of a group of you and not one? And the reason I raise this is as I say, it cannot always be the person because it always ends up being that way. It ends up being you. And when we talk about concord, we don't speak of the person. We maybe speak about the person who delivers the statement,
judgment.
but we always know that
It's 11 judges.
it's 11 judges and it's always a majority and minority rule, and we always get both judgments. We know the debate. This is what they debated and this is what they concluded, and the majority won. But it's always interesting to see the minority perspective.
Which at least we can also say, oh, I relate to this, yeah.
Surely there's room to reimagine.
Yeah,
Your
the
office.
office, I think so. Possibly change it to a commission arrangement.
Yes.
Maybe it will help. Like your Human Rights Commission, there's several commissioners.
Yes.
Public Service Commission, there's several. Gender Commission, ICASA,
Yes,
there are
it's the
commissioners as
same.
well. CRL, Commission for Religious and Linguistic. All
Oh,
of
there
them.
you go.
It was
Yes.
only the AG and the public protector. Whereas the AG as well, the way she operates is that the deputy AG is like the CEO, the accounting officer.
Okay.
Now, most of the time, also there's auditors who do all
Who do
this.
the work.
There's executive. They are responsible for the following departments. They are the ones, when they finalize that, then she's the one who will announce. But
Delivers
then
the
she never
statement.
found herself in this position I'm in. And there are several findings which she had against various
High profile. I always found it interesting that your story became so muddy.
It's very muddy,
Yes.
and I think it's the way the office is. I remember I told you about the king who said, "You know what? I'm not above the law. I need
to be-"
somebody to also remind me. Hey, you are going astray here."
That's it.
That's all. It's all. Well, that's all about it. But then when you then say we need to reimagine, and another thing which was the biggest problem for me is the Nkandla judgment. Remember, Madonsela never had an. It was issued in 2016.
Okay.
A few months
Just
down the
before.
line,
Yeah.
then she left.
That's just before
Now,
she left.
Minage, I was
You had
faced
to
with
apply
this case of judgment because people then wouldn't agree with your findings, and then they would take you to court. And when you defend, you must pay personal costs.
However, the role of the PP also becomes tricky if the PP is biased. As you would say, it's about fairness.
Others, as others have portrayed me,
Exactly.
favor.
Absolutely. And that's why you were labeled Zuptas and all of that.
Yes,
That you,
others
you
are still
on
saying
the
I'm
side.
a RT, RT
Yes,
force
yes.
and whatever. And
Yes.
the question is, again, people reading headlines and just going with the flow.
Yeah.
The question is, who are those RT people I protected?
We don't even know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
We imagine them to be certain people.
And if I'm a Zupta person or a Zuma person, Madonsela was appointed by Uzuma.
Yeah, as well.
Most of the judges were appointed by Uzuma.
The very judge,
Mlambo, Abobo, Zondo, Bo Banban.
including Judge Mkhwebane.
Exactly. Now this one, I don't know why, and there was never a matter where I investigated him and I exonerated him. I never exonerated a lot of them. I mean, normally I would say, go read the reports of the public protector. They are there. And you just check all those politicians who were executive I've investigated, who did I exonerate, and you have evidence
That you exonerated
indeed,
them.
Besides, Uguti, you said this one, there's no case to answer, and you have evidence to prove that you were wrong.
King David Studio Podcast.
The so-called Gupta company, the arrangement they had with the government to own so much percentage, and the beneficiaries to own so much percent.
Yeah.
What they did, they never investigated
Political involvement.
and the issue of the beneficiaries.
Okay. She loses a lot of cases. It would make
And
headlines.
how many? Yes.
Yes, she lost again. She lost again. And you're saying there's nothing wrong in losing cases.
There's nothing.
King David Studio Podcast.